Hey everybody, this is Lila. I know I've been away for a while. Stelios has had things to say while I've been busy, but he's right here with me this time. Say hi, Stelios.
Hey.
So, he warned you that we were going to be doing a podcast today, and it was going to be kind of heavy. Well, there's been heavy stuff going on. As I'm sure most of you know, this last week, the board of directors for the SCA updated the mission statement and a couple of other things. You were talking about it before.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you are someone who follows Stelios' profile on Facebook, you might have already heard him talking about something that he wants to do called Project Avalanche.
Operation Avalanche.
Operation
and it's
Avalanche.
already in motion.
So, give us a quick rundown on what that is.
Operation Avalanche is basically a letter writing campaign. I am basically approaching the entirety of the society, particularly those who feel marginalized by this new mission statement, and I'm telling them to write the bod.
Yeah.
Write the bod, because we can sit here and rabble rouse on Facebook, but the truth of the matter is the people that you are going to be exchanging arguments with on Facebook are really not, they're not the obstacle in your way. They're not the obstacle that needs to be conquered. You need to talk to the bod directly.
Yeah, because they're the ones that are making these policies. And how are they going to know what the society wants if the society doesn't tell them?
So, it's like I said earlier, one snowflake might not do much, but if you get enough of them moving in the same direction, you can crush mountains.
So, just in case you live under a rock completely and you have no idea what people are so hot about right now, the BOD updated the mission statement to include something that we feel like didn't need to be there, which was stating that the SCA was what was the exact statement? I feel like I should have had that pulled up before we started.
Well,
Let me see if I can find it super quick, and maybe we'll snip this little bit out.
while she finds the statement, I'll paraphrase. The mission statement as it currently is says that the SCA is a...
Here it is.
Oh, she has it.
I knew exactly where to look. I just needed to do it. The SCA is an international nonprofit volunteer educational organization. The SCA is devoted to the research and recreation of pre-17th century skills, arts, combat, and culture focused on Western Europe and its cultural contacts, and employing knowledge of history to enrich the lives of participants through events, demonstrations, and other educational presentations and activities. So, the thing that we're wanting to talk about is that specific clause right there, focused on Western Europe and its cultural contacts. And if you don't live under a rock, you've probably heard Stelios talking about his opinion on this.
Yeah, because I've been rather vocal.
I haven't been, and that's not just because I haven't been on social media a lot lately. It's because I had to sit and chew on this for a bit. Not because I needed to decide how I felt about it, because I needed to decide how exactly to word how I felt about it. So, I have sitting in front of me here my snowflake to chuck into the avalanche. And I felt like it would be appropriate for me to read my letter on our podcast, along with posting a copy of it on our little forum thingy.
Our Facebook page.
Our Facebook page, yeah. Thus making it an open letter to the board of directors.
You do plan on sending that to the bod, right?
Oh yeah, I've got the email open right now. I'm going to hit send in a hot second.
All right, then.
But I wanted to read it first. It's kind of long, and I apologize for that. I'm a bit wordy. But here we go. To the board of directors of the Society of Creative Anachronism, and any else to whom it may concern. Recently, the BOD met and updated several official stances of the Society. First, I want to make it clear that I applaud the statement against hate speech added to the Corpora. These are dynamic and unstable times we live in, and the unfortunate resurgence of white supremacy, bigotry, and hatred must be firmly and without any leniency stood against in all its forms. I also want it known that I wholeheartedly applaud the removal of the 5th century front cap to the timeline on the mission statement. Many have already been exploring, studying, and personifying the rich fabric of ancient human history, and now they may continue to do so without having to defend and justify their choices at every turn. Unfortunately, the BOD made other updates to the mission statement that are not to be celebrated. The addition of the stipulation of the society being focused on Western Europe and its cultural contacts is not just disheartening, but outright recidivating to the SCA's claim of inclusiveness and diversity. While I do not doubt that the BOD had no ill intentions when they updated this, the state of one's intentions are irrelevant against the reality of an action's impact. It would be reasonable to believe that the BOD felt the addition of cultural contacts as enough of a loophole to allow reasonable room for society members of color and people who in general wish to personify non-European history to justify their choices. However, that is in itself, in fact, the problem. It is neither gracious nor progressive to give a loophole to anyone to justify themselves through. It is not inclusive or encouraging of diversity to force someone to squeeze themselves through a loophole in order to be themselves or to explore that which truly calls to them. Handing society members of color and non-European personas a loophole to work with is not just insulting, but it's disparaging and utterly condescending. This choice is an example of the Eurocentric mindset that infects the society, and that which I firmly and loudly stand against. The mindset of viewing the civilized world through the lens of the European experience is blatantly ignorant and outright incorrect. Western Europe was neither the birthplace of human history, nor the front on which the majority of actual civilization and technological progress was made. Society members of color do not need permission to exist. They do not have to validate their existence through cultural contacts with Western Europe, and they do not have to twist and subjugate their history with convoluted and demeaning backstories that appeal to a Eurocentric view. Western Europe's cultural contacts with many parts of the world were not positive or progressive. Many cultural contacts were the exploration and colonizing of other parts of the world. It is without dignity and in no way inclusive to force society members of color and non-European personas to trickle themselves through a history of invasion, occupation, subjugation, enslavement, torture, abuse, erasure, and dehumanization. The society has always been reasonable enough to favor modern sensibilities and ethics over true historical accuracy. It is boasted as the medieval ages as they should have been, so unfortunate things such as poverty, disease, religious persecution, classism, and misogyny are politely ignored and swept under the proverbial rug. We also no longer allow heavy fighters to wear Freon cans for helmets, and people who work with children have to undergo rigorous background checks. We learn from our mistakes and improve ourselves as we go. The SCA began with a grand tournament, a backyard party that is said to have been a protest against the 20th century. Perhaps that was said in jest, but the cultural and political fabric of the world of Anno Societatis I was vivid. It was a decade where an elementary school girl had to be escorted to class by federal marshals, where lovers of different ethnicities had to fight for their right to marry, where discriminatory laws restricting people of color from actually being able to register and vote had to be ruled as unconstitutional, and where laws had to be passed outlawing discrimination against people for their race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. The founding members of the SCA, the attendants of that grand tournament, were from a group of people who fought for free speech, for free rights, and rallied against a government that tried to control and subjugate. Let us make the SCA a protest against the continuing injustices of the 21st century. Let the SCA continue to be a place that society members feel is their true home and a safe escape from the ugliness and continuing horrors of the world. Let the SCA continue to be the chosen family of its members. When words are naught but ashes in the wind, it is with actions that we must make our stand. Therefore, I call upon the Board of Directors to once again update the mission statement and remove the Western Europe and its cultural contacts from it, showing with their actions that the SCA is truly and legitimately inclusive to everyone. Respectfully yours, Lila Oksana Rune.
Wow. That's beautifully and eloquently stated.
Thank you. I admit right now, and honestly, it's not that much of an admission as it is even more poignant towards this, is in writing it that way with those words, I am flexing one of my privileges.
Yeah?
I am a white woman. I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to be vehemently, indignantly, and loudly angry.
That's
Because
true.
people aren't going to call the cops on me and have me shot for being loud and angry.
That's scary to think about.
Yeah.
But for some of us, it's reality.
And as much as the SCA wants to make itself this immersive thing set apart from the real world around us, the fact is that it's still part of that real world.
Very much so.
As much as we like to talk about what Europe did and what medieval history did, the truth is, except for those that are not part of, the states, we're all still Americans. And there are lots of kingdoms and participants that are outside the United States. But goddamn, aren't the United States people pretty self-centered? We are part of a wider culture that has problems. That has lots of problems when it still comes to the discrimination against the people that are supposed to be our equal citizens and peers. But when the statistics don't lie, you can't keep burying your head in the sand. I mean, you can, but you're going to die down there.
I've said it on Facebook, and I'll say it to you. This is war at this point, and lines have been drawn. There are some people who stand on one side who are more than willing to just tuck their head in the sand and let things continue as they are because it doesn't affect them. And then on the other side, you've got people who are affected by this kind of stuff and those who support the affected. I know that statement sounds divisive, but that's just what's on the jerseys.
It's not untrue. That's the thing, is as scary as it sounds, it's not untrue. Saying I don't do politics or I don't involve myself in those things, that in itself is privilege. The fact that you don't live every day of your life being a political statement by just existing is a privilege. That you don't have to walk outside your house and constantly have your head on a swivel. Is that the term?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what's going to happen to you. Because you don't know how people are going to react to you, treat you, dehumanize you. And the SCA is part of a collection of hobbies that are attractive to people who are blatantly white supremacist. Because of this fantasy these white supremacists tell themselves of this lily white Europe. And it is a fantasy, because anyone who's actually studied the history knows that there was no white box. Actual medieval Europe was this big, messy place, filled and overflowing and constantly changing of different people, of different ethnicities and tribes and backgrounds and religions and creeds and colors. History is messy. People move. There was no white box, but the fantasy of that white box is attractive to people who we don't want in this game. And we cannot ignore that they are coming into this game. And we
are already here.
We cannot tolerate the behavior that they give, the things they say online. You can't justify their behavior by, oh, that's just how they are. Or, oh, they said it online, not in an event. No. No. That is not a line that can be drawn. That is not a distinction that can be allowed. If you are a bigot on the internet, you are a bigot in real life, and you are not welcome at the table.
I don't have anything to add to that. Absolutely nothing.
I have something that I'd like to end that point with.
What's that?
It's a saying that people like to throw around, but in this day and age it is even more relevant. All it takes for evil to reign is for good men to do nothing.
That's it. That's all it takes.
Don't be the good person that sits there and does nothing. There is something you can do. There is always something you can do. Write letters. Make your opinions and your feelings known about it in respectful and constructive manners. And don't sit on your hands when you see things happening.
When you see stuff happening in real life at these events, you have a moral obligation to step in. Because that person that's being accosted by hate, that person is somebody who at some point in your life, you probably called your friend. You probably called family. Because that's what we say we are in the SCA. We say we're friends. We say we're family. But if somebody comes at my family sideways, you best believe they're going to get an earful from me, and they'll be lucky if they don't get 5 across the eye and 10 across the chin. I know I sound somewhat heated right now, but the truth is I'm mad. I'm mad and I'm hurt, and I watched somebody pour their heart out today on camera. This man is a good man. One of the nicest dudes I know. And he has constantly had to deal with persecution because he just so happens to be a gay man who was raised in the South.
Yeah, at this point we're branching out past society members of color and approaching the ongoing and consistent issue of tolerating bigotry in all its forms in this group. You cannot let yourself be afraid to confront people. Yes, this is a small niche hobby, but that's all the more reason to be defensive of the type of people that you are willing to put up with being here. We have to protect our family, and that involves putting yourself in an uncomfortable space occasionally. It doesn't have to be a screaming match in the middle of an Eric. It can be as much as telling a person mid-conversation, that wasn't an appropriate comment. That's not a attitude that's okay around here. You can't say those kinds of things about people. That's not okay. Even if they brush you off and blow you off, if they get that message from everybody every single time, they're going to leave. Or they're going to start reassessing themselves. Point being, you have to be confident that even if you're just one snowflake, there's an avalanche behind you.
People are going to resist this. They absolutely will. And one of the things that you're going to see being touted is free speech. Well, let me tell you something as a student of law. Free speech protects you from legal prosecution. It does not in any way, shape, or form protect you from societal consequences. If you say something that is uncouth, offensive, terrible, and hurts people, then we as a society are well within our rights to punish you for it. Does this mean we get to physically attack you? No. But we don't have to include you. We don't have to invite you to anything, and we can gladly tell you to leave. We can tell those people to get out. Tell them that they're not wanted here. I don't give a good goddamn if they got a crown, a belt, a chain, a laurel. I don't care about that.
Actually, if someone has been in the society long enough to have those accolades, then they should be held even more responsible for bad actions, bad decisions. These people should not be given waiver for poor behavior.
Absolutely not.
They should be held to a stricter and higher standard. Because they are supposed to be the face of the society even more than anyone else.
Now, you've got people, you know what? Fuck it. I'll say names because I don't give a fuck what the dude thinks. Duke Balder, I'll talk about you. I've seen the stuff that the dude posted on his Facebook page. You know, this alt-right stuff. He likes to do this thing where he skirts around saying what he's actually implying. Like, he'll make a somewhat racist joke, and anybody actually looking at it knows it's a racist joke because he'll attack a certain person without saying their name. He does that kind of stuff. And there are many more people like him in the SCA already.
That is disgusting.
They have no fucking place here. None. And I'm sure there are some people out there that are going to say, Stelios, you should probably try to be a little nicer about this. No, fuck that. I'm done. I'm done being nice.
Nice doesn't win wars. And like Stelios said at the beginning of this podcast, this is a war, whether you like it or not.
Society is changing.
Not the society. Society. Everything. All of it. We're part of that too.
All of our personal biases, grudges, prejudices, we bring those from the outside world into the SCA, whether we admit it or not.
Most people don't admit it.
No, they don't admit it.
That's what an unconscious bias is.
Yeah, absolutely. We bring it here. And because we're trying to play nicey nice all the time, we ignore it. No, that's over. That is over. So if you see something like that, something needs to be said. Now, I'm not saying, call this person's job and, try to ruin their life.
To make it known to them that that behavior is not welcome. That those attitudes are not welcome.
Absolutely.
That's the minimum that you can do. That is the minimum you should do.
Be willing to speak. Because you never know. There may be other people that don't have the strength to speak. There are people who, for all intents and purposes, walk around with their head kept down because they don't want to cause problems. Because they feel it might cost them their station or their chance at a station. No, screw that. If pursuing some type of award or station costs me my dignity and self-respect, I don't want it. If it costs somebody else their dignity and their self-respect, I don't want it. My brother asked me to make him a promise. Promise him that I would do my very best to be great and to do right by these people. And by using my voice and this platform, that is what I am doing. Because there are some people out there who probably want to speak, but they can't. I'm planting my feet. I ain't going nowhere. My brother asked something of me, and he will get that. When I came back because I wanted to fight with my family. But this, making sure that I can help build a bigger, better, and safer society for everybody who plays this game, that is my reason to stay.
Okay, so this has been both a long and intense podcast, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. If you have anything you want to add to this, comments, concerns, questions, stories you want to share, by all means, throw them at us, guys. Throw them in the comments below if you don't mind other people seeing them. Private message us if you want to talk or chat or have questions and you don't want it to be out in public. That's great too. We want to hear from you. Don't be afraid to reach out to us.
Understand that anything that is sent to us private remains private unless given explicit consent to share your information. Mm-hmm. So please don't worry about whether or not what you have to say is going to be linked back to you in any way, shape, or form. It will not be.
Mm-hmm. We respect your privacy.
So if you really feel like you need to vent, get something off your chest, need somebody to talk to, this is a judgment-free zone. This is, you know what? I'll say it. This is a safe space. And if you don't like it, fuck you. Damn, I'm mad.
I know. Okay, well, this is Lila and Stelios signing off. Be good, everybody. Stay safe. Take care of each other.